these young girls and young women are coming in taller and taller each year. I mean, it's not, when I played in, 2000, we had 6'3" and that was it. Now you go across the name, there's a lot of 6'3" players on the team, and then there's 6'5" and 6'6" and 6'7", and they can move and they can jump. So the athlete is changed in that way.
This is the Leave It Better podcast, powered by the Side Out Foundation. Here's your host, Hall of Fame coach, Janice Kruger.
I'd like to welcome my guest, Lindsay Peterson, to the show today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Well, you're welcome. I'm so glad you were able to join. I want to give just a little background on Lindsay, and quite honestly, I had to probably cut this back a little, but Lindsay is a Nebraska native, a former Husker volleyball standout and team captain, and is recognized as one of the greatest defensive players to play for the Huskers. She was a four-year performer for the Husker program, 1999 to 2002. During that time, she played 3 different roles, which is not unlike some of the other people that played at Nebraska. She was a setter. She was a defensive specialist and a libero, which started in 2000, which was her senior year, and she took over that role. Lindsay is in her 17th year as director of operations for the second-ranked Husker volleyball program that holds the largest attendance record in the world for a women's sporting event. The record now stands at 92,003, which was set on Nebraska Volleyball Day. Amazing. For those listening that do not know what a director of operations does, I'd like to mention a few of her duties that she handles. Now, this list is long. Okay. Team travel, budgeting, coordinating tournaments and camps, and visiting teams. She is a liaison for volleyball support units, all important support units, which consists of facilities, events, media relations, marketing, compliance, Husker Vision, the ticket office, alumni, and the match club. To say the least, if you will, Lindsay's role for the Husker volleyball program is substantial and substantial to their success.
Well, thank you. I think when you read that description of this position, and I think every year it changes, and you would think after 17 years it would be the same, but just as the way college sports is going, and as you understand, the generations are changing, and it's just become different every year. And I think that's one of the blessings about having this job, is that, yes, those are some of my duties, but the list of duties is different, I think, daily. And, you have to think about where I'm needed and who needs me today in this day and age and in this business. And so that's what keeps my cup full and makes this job so rewarding each year. And obviously being able to, having been a player here and having the opportunity to come back and work for the program, is also very special to me.
Yeah. Honestly, what you just said there in terms of the day-to-day, it's usually different every day. It brings the joy to this job. It's fun. I think it's a real special deal that you are a Husker alumni and a native of Nebraska, and you get to be in this role with this amazing volleyball program.
Yeah. I would say, I'm a Nebraska native, small town Nebraskan, as so many former players were like me, just small town girls. And so having the opportunity to be a part of this program that has become such an important part of the state, and kind of a state treasure for our state, and where it's come over the last several years, 20 plus years, has been incredible. But having been able to watch it growing up, and now to be a part of it, and to say I bleed red is an understatement for sure.
That's funny. Lindsay, this role that you have and your experiences and your connection to the Husker volleyball program gives you really that unique perspective. Being a part of the first national championship, playing on the first national championship team.
I was on Coach Cook's first national championship team. Nebraska won with Coach Pettit in 95, but it was my sophomore year, and it was the first year John was the head coach here, he had been the associate head coach with Coach Pettit my freshman year, and then took over in 2000. And I think that story is a little bit of a Cinderella story when I look back on it and we talk about it. Obviously, our memory lapses come into effect each year when we start to think of things. But we started out the season, and I think it was the first year maybe Nebraska in several years hadn't been ranked in the top 10. So a lot of people didn't expect much from us that year because we had a new coach. Our star player was going to redshirt that year due to having been with the national team all summer. And there was a lot of unknowns with our team. And so I feel like our team used that to our advantage and didn't really listen to the outside noise. And we were a group that was incredibly close. We had, I want to say, I think 7 Nebraskans on that team. A lot of pride and playing on that team for being able to play for their state home school. And we started off with, I think it was our 3rd tournament of the year. We beat UCLA, who was number 1. And from that point forward, we caught people's attention. And it was just, it was a real magical season. It just felt like things came very easy for us that year, not just how I think of how we played, but just in team chemistry. And you never know, what adversity you're going to hit along the way in regards to injuries or illness. But I felt no matter what happened with a player being hurt or ill, whoever stepped in, we never skipped a beat. And that was just really special about that team is we were all very invested into the team itself. And we were playing for the name across our chest. And we loved every minute of that season. And I think, we had a scare to make it to the Final Four. We almost got upset at home against South Carolina in the second round. And that match was probably one of the loudest matches I have ever been a part of as a player or staff member. And at one point, it was back in those days, it was still side out scoring. That was the last year of side out scoring. So, matches took forever. And I think we were down 14-6 or 7.
Oh dear.
And came back and won it. Yeah. Came back and won it. And at that point, when it's 14-7, people were exiting the building, thought it was over. And fact, my dad told me, because he was coming, my brother played college basketball and he was coming from his basketball game, hoping to catch the end of our game. And while he was going in, people were going out, and he said, "Oh, is the match over?" And they're like, "Well, pretty much. They're down 14-7. So he came in and he actually saw probably the best part of the entire match because he saw our comeback. So our team had no quit. We were just a group that was tightly knit. And when we played Wisconsin in the finals, that's where Coach Cook had been coaching. So there was, mixed feelings going into that match. Obviously, it was a national championship match. We were still undefeated, but he was playing against a program he had built and a team full of players that he had coached. And it was an interesting matchup, but I'll never forget after we won, just that night when we were sitting in the hotel as a team and staff, reminiscing and talking about the season. That conversation went on, and nobody really wanted it to end. No one really wanted to say, okay, this is it. This is our last meeting as this team. This is the last time we're together as this team. And that's a memory that will stick with me forever, because you don't come across a group of individuals and women that feel that way every day. And it made an impact on my life for sure.
Yeah, that's an amazing story, Lindsay. I know there is always a specialness a part of any national championship team for sure.
Mm-hmm. Even from the days of watching Nebraska before I played there and now as part of the staff, I always felt like our players look like they truly enjoy being out on the court with each other and playing the game.
Yeah, I'm witnessing that today as well.
Yeah.
So just turn the corner here just a little bit. So Nebraska Volleyball Day was a very, very special day in the world of volleyball, in Husker volleyball for the state of Nebraska. 92,003 people. And that doesn't include the many thousands that were watching on TV and all those guys still out in the parking lot that didn't get tickets to come in. How is it possible that that you were able to draw that many people? What do you think was the specialness?
Well, when the idea first came about, and it was pretty overwhelming idea to start with, but we came back to saying, if anybody can pull this off, it's us. Like, the state of Nebraska can pull this off. And our fans are incredibly loyal, and they are very supportive of our program and all Nebraska programs. And I think when you put it out there that, hey, we're trying to do something no one else has done, that was even extra motivation, because, there's no place like Nebraska. So we have to do that type of thing. It's kind of just in our DNA to do something that is bigger than better and maybe unexpected, or something that several others don't think can be done, especially in a state our size and our population, and to think about it for a volleyball match. I mean, everyone keeps saying this is for a volleyball match. This is for a women's sporting event. I think, I just think our fans in the state is what enabled us to do it. And I think back to all the years that efforts that have been put in to make volleyball so visible in our state and make it such an important sport, and the values of volleyball, the value of volleyball in the high school and club programs within the state has grown from the times of Coach Pettit going out and doing free clinics all over to, now the time where we try to go out every spring and play in a small town somewhere to allow others from different parts of states who can't get in to see us during the fall to be able to witness our team playing. And we show up, and those, small towns roll out the red carpet and put on an incredible event. The lines, they camp out overnight to get tickets, and the line is well over, blocks long before we even think about arriving to the gym. So it's just has come so far, but it's from the works and efforts of so many to put Nebraska volleyball on the map and to get it out into the households and to the high schools and help develop the club. I mean, we honored coaches that day on Nebraska Volleyball Day that have basically devoted a big majority of their life to the sport of volleyball in the state of Nebraska, from just what they did in their high school programs to starting club and what they did for club volleyball to help grow the sport in our state and make it what it is today. So I really think it was truly a celebration, allowed so many people an opportunity to see our team play, to see the strength of volleyball in the state when they got to watch the other teams play, and just to really feel a big part of where we're at and what we accomplished.
Yeah. Wow. Allowing and taking your program on the road to be in those small towns is such a treat, I am sure.
Yeah, I have a list of emails of people that are requesting us. Like, it gets longer each year. So.
Yeah, I can only imagine. There. I don't know how many towns there are, cities there are in the state, but I think you could get a letter from every one of those guys for sure. So with this huge attendance piece, and I think this is a little bit of greatness that happened in no place like Nebraska. I think there's a ripple effect happening in the sport, in college attendance, just an overall feeling of women's athletics.
There definitely has been a ripple effect, and I'm not sure if that was really the intention or on our mind when we thought about doing a volleyball day in Nebraska. We knew we were going to inspire a lot of little girls that were going to be in attendance that night when they had an opportunity to watch us play, to see what we did, and inspire young girls, not just in the state, but probably throughout the nation, when they witnessed what Nebraska volleyball, that type of stage, I guess, that volleyball was on. But it definitely has created just this almost craziness right now of, and kind of a love affair with volleyball. I mean, everywhere you go, people bring up how when we play there, it's their record attendance. We were just played at Purdue in Indiana. Purdue was sold out. Indiana sold out for the first time that they ever have. I mean, you see, it's almost weekly where you'll see some type of news article of somebody that set some type of record, whether it was, an attendance record for their program, an attendance record for Division I, Division II, Division III, an indoor attendance record, not an outdoor attendance record. I mean, it's constant. And I think that speaks volumes to how the sport has grown, but also just the opportunity. We finally have had the opportunity for volleyball to be visible, and they gave us the opportunity to be on that stage. And now that people have had that, were able to witness it, they understand, it just grew because of that.
Yeah.
Because the opportunity hadn't been there before. So I think that's when you think of, greatness, that's one of the great things that came from this event is we probably were on the TV set in homes that have never had a volleyball match on, or fans that came to a volleyball game who've never watched Nebraska volleyball in person. And then it's just the competitive nature of sports these days. I mean, now everybody's trying to, do something special for their program and it's only helping the sport. So it's something that is wonderful that came from it, not necessarily what we'd expected or thought of when we were talking about the event to start out with.
Yeah. Yeah. I know that, I've had several people come up and ask that knew that I was an alumni of Nebraska and just like, were you there? Were you able to be at the event? What was that like? I just people in my community that, would never probably have watched a volleyball game before, like you talked about there.
Well, I'm a big believer in the fact that we were put on this earth for a purpose, and everyone has a unique purpose. And I feel if we don't put ourselves out there and try to fulfill that purpose, then we are not leaving it better. And so I think leaving it better is just about going out and trying to fulfill your purpose and do it in a way that allows others to have greatness, have a better quality of life, have more inspiration, more joy, whatever it may be, because you're fulfilling your purpose. So we tell our players all the time, it's an attitude of gratitude when you're in this program. And there's so many things that they, could easily take for granted, but we bring them up and let them know that how grateful you need to be for these opportunities, these material things, the ability to fly, whatever it may be. And in that process, in the attitude of gratitude, you never know who you're going to impact that day. I think that's part of leaving it better is if you approach each day with knowing that you have an opportunity to make a small impact on somebody each day, not knowing that you made that impact, then you're leaving it better. We try to do that within our program and our players, from a simple thank you to a picture with, a little girl who dreams to be in those shoes someday, to thanking the janitor who made sure that our floor was clean, to the cooks in the training table, whatever it may be, to show a little appreciation, because every day is, you're lucky to have each day. No day is guaranteed, and you want to fulfill your purpose, I feel like, for each day.
Yeah. It makes me think about everything you do matters, right? Everything you do matters. And also be the best you can be. I see within the Husker program a lot of times that I'm always witness to the fact that they are out there understanding that everything matters, every play they make, every communication they have, it all comes down to making the whole better. It's a fun group this year, all years, really, for that matter. That's fun to watch play. Witnessing you in this role and having communicated with you in regards to some alumni things, I have to say that I think your perspective, being all the things connected to you, the being a native in Nebraska, playing for the team, winning a championship, being connected to the program for so long, working for one of your coaches, your coach, I see that is such a value to that program, Lindsay. I hope it's as much fun for you as it seems like it would be. You mentioned being a mom. I think you have 4 boys.
Yep, 4 boys. So it's a wild and crazy household, but it's a great balance from being at work all day and being with the team and then going home to 4 wild boys. So it keeps me balanced.
They definitely keep you feet on the ground, right?
Yeah, right.
Any of them play volleyball?
They don't. I mean, they will with me. And when they try, like they've been able to go on a couple trips with us in the team. And so they'll always ask one of the players to play with them. But they're still pretty young. So right now, just opportunity is, I mean, we're whatever season's going on. It's flag football time right now. It's about ready to start basketball and baseball and soccer. And so we just try to keep them in as many things as they want to do and can do without going overboard, and let them still be kids and enjoy being a kid, because we know that time goes so quickly. So.
Right. That's true. That's true. So if I was to ask you, what is something our listeners may not know about you, Lindsay? We've shared a lot already here.
Outside of volleyball, I grew up on a farm. I was a small town girl. We had livestock, we had crops, we did all that. And I truly appreciate having grown up in that lifestyle and that work hard and kind of circle of life that you learn being on the farm. And so that's been something that's, been important to me, to hopefully allow my boys to witness that and grow up similar ways. And so, if I am not doing volleyball or chasing my boys around, I would be on a horse 24/7 if I could be. I mean, that's just a great passion of mine. And I keep telling my husband, when I retire, I'm going to retire and be a barrel racer. I'll be the oldest barrel racer probably to try to keep going if I can. But it's something that I've always really enjoyed and fills my cup when I have the opportunity to be on horseback. And so I don't know if many listeners would think that being in this position, but that's something that I truly enjoy and is a big part of who I am.
I did not know that about you. And I love that. And I grew up with horses, rode them every day. And I hear also that John Cook might have a cowboy hat here and there. So you two both have a love for horses, and they're special animals. I don't know. That relationship is pretty cool. That's it. That's so fun. I love that. I know that. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. I think you can learn a lot about yourself on horseback. So they can't speak to you, but they can tell you a lot about yourself, good or bad. So
good or bad. Right. I know one of the things with the world record being set at Nebraska, do you see some things that could be coming down the road for media rights with the NCAA? I know that they've had some things that are at least being looked at for next year. I think some things really open up for them. And I know just being a leader in the sport at Nebraska, that's probably something that you all will feel pretty proud to be a part of, or feel like you were a real big part of that.
I think the NCAA and other Big Ten, like Big Ten Network and is getting really on board with, it's not just football and basketball anymore. There's other sports that are of great interest and are capturing audiences and big audiences. So I felt like that we proved that with our outdoor match. But I also think just the ripple effect that we had talked about earlier is also making a stand. We see that, this year, our Final Four finally, normally it's a Thursday, Saturday and on ESPN or ESPN2, but now they've moved it to a Thursday, Sunday afternoon match on ABC. So that'll be a first time ever for women's volleyball for our national championship match. And I think it'll be interesting to see the ratings and what comes from that, because I would anticipate greater media opportunities and television contracts and stuff in the coming years because of that. And then you also have, I think a big part of that also is just because of due to the expansions of the conferences. When you're, our Big Ten is now going to the West Coast to play 4 teams each year. It's only gonna, I would expect to grow the audience that way too, because now you're grabbing audiences on the West Coast for our matches that you weren't originally capturing. And so I think this whole realignment of conferences and how things are just changing in college athletics with NIL and the way the universities are trending and where things are headed, I anticipate the media attention and the television attention for not just volleyball, but more sports, more Olympic sports in general is going to increase greatly.
You've had experience in this program for 17 years, and you were a coach at some different colleges prior to coming back to Nebraska. How has the athlete that's being recruited to Nebraska changed? How has the junior club level of play affected and changed Nebraska volleyball?
Man, the athletes these days are so much different than they were 20 years ago. I think, one, the club scene is almost becoming like a miniature college scene because of the amount of time that they're requiring of their athletes in these clubs. It's really, in my opinion, somewhat unfortunate in the fact that it doesn't allow them to be multi-sport athletes, really. It's causing them to specialize, which is one reason why I think you see such very talented players in specific sports, because all their attention and training is going to that area. But I also feel, as a former three-sport, multi-sport athlete, that each sport can teach you so much and does so much for your strength and balance, coordination as an athlete, that if you completely specialize in just one, I feel at some point you're going to hit that ceiling and your body's going to hit the ceiling quicker because it's going through the same motions and movements and type of training that you get just in that sport. So the athletes are incredibly physical. Nutrition and strength training is starting younger and younger. I mean, a lot of these young athletes are coming in having had nutritionists work with them, having their own personal trainers. That just wasn't talked about 15 years ago. I mean, you lifted if you had it in your PE class at school, and that was about it. It wasn't something that was part of your weekly schedule a couple of times a week. The physicality, the speed at which these athletes can move, I feel like athletes are, these young girls and young women are coming in taller and taller each year. I mean, it's not... When I played in, 2000, we had 6'3", and that was it. Now you go across the name, there's a lot of 6'3" players on the team, and then there's 6'5" and 6'6" and 6'7", and they can move and they can jump. And so the athlete has changed in that way. So the club scene has done a lot for the sport. I think that's one why you see such growth in the sport across the nation, is because it's good volleyball when you turn it on, because the teams there's a lot of good players out there across lots of teams. So that's what helps make, a great, interesting game to watch, is because there's talent. It's not just a couple teams that dominate. Any night, you don't know what to expect. So I think that directly correlates with how the club scene is these days.
The other thing I think, the athletes are amazing. I think like 5'9" was the tallest, really tall back in the day. And then 5'10" took over for a little bit. Yeah. But, 6'3", 6'5", it's crazy how tall they are and athletic. The other thing that seems impressive to me is the skill level, the execution level of the players by so many players. I remember having to coach a skill as I was playing the game, or, trying to help out with that. And now it's kind of coaching strategy and figuring out the best strategy to compete against this team. I'm curious if you've seen that as well during your time at Nebraska.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's just speaks to the competitive nature of the sport and how it has grown so much over the years, where you have to be very good. Comes to specializing, you have to be a very good passer if you're going to be a libero. If you're going to be an outside hitter, you have to be a great attacker and a great blocker. So they're really getting specific in the things they're training. They're not training necessarily a 6 rotation player as much anymore, because when you get to the next level, it becomes pretty specialized because there's so much talent out there. Years of during side out play, our middles played 6 rotations. There was no libero. I was the first libero back in 2002. Was the first year libero came in. So your middles played 6 rotations. Now the middle blocker is in 3 rotations and out. That's just not something. So they have the ability to really refine their skill in that position and just focus on their blocking technique and becoming a better blocker and lateral movements or whatever it may be. So, and then there's a lot of high quality club and high school coaches out there because the sport of volleyball has grown. I mean, several college players have gone back to opening, starting their own clubs. It's just become, it's a business. It isn't just a side gig anymore. Back when I played, it was high school coaches that had to just give their time in the winter to run the club. Now it's a full-time business and it's a big business. These club programs are, so they can bring in the top coaches, and then that attracts the top athletes with the carrot that kind of dangles in front of them that you're going to get a college scholarship to a top program, having played in certain clubs. So the game has changed in that area for sure, because now you know that you're probably going against somebody on the other side of the net who, one, is just as physical as you are most likely and is moving as quick. You're not going to be ahead of them that much anymore in that aspect of the game. So now you have to come and think of strategy and what are their weaknesses, understanding the other team's tendencies come to play. It becomes more about the scouting and prep and playing to your strengths are better than their strengths. You try to offset your weakness or whatever. It's kind of a chess match, really. Yeah. When you play is when you're playing against them, and what works one match isn't necessarily how you're going to approach the next match.
The other area of this, and I don't know if you have information you gather on the teams and the systems and the things that you have available to you to watch the outside hitter from Wisconsin hit 20 times and see what her tendencies are, lay it out. They can look at it. They can see it. And then they can have that in their mind as they go out on the floor and they're preparing. Some of those things, even over the years you've been there, I'm sure have changed and advanced along the way.
It has definitely changed. I mean, the days of VHS are long gone. I know the coaches used to cut video and, try to put together a little kind of video montage from the VHS tapes that you watch, or you just watched a game and tried to watch and learn as you watch. Now you can break it down by rotation, by player, by point scoring, by number of swings, by hitting on right versus left, by how they pass a jump serve versus how they pass a float serve. I mean, you can break it down so many different ways. The technology that has allowed the preparation part of, the mat of the game has changed so much that it allows you to become more strategic, tactical, and try to figure out ways to find that weakness on that team by breaking it down every little angle you can. And the access for our players is, you can send it to their phone and they can watch themselves hit. They can learn from watching themselves. They can watch who they're going to be trying to block. Setters can watch the opposing team's defense. So it's just the access to such video and being able to watch and learn versus trying to play and then make adjustments as you play, which, adjustments still have to be made, but it's not to the level it used to be.
Lindsay, would there be a quote that you live by?
This is one that we've talked about that I don't know if I've always lived by this, but it has been one that really hit home. And I tried to share this with my family as well, is that how you do one thing is how you do everything. Because I feel it's important. If you try to just take the shortcuts in some avenue, it's going to become that way for more things as you continue on in life. But if you do one thing to the best of your ability, you're more up and you're going to do everything that way. I mean, that's just going to be the way you approach each challenge, each joy, whatever it may be, that way. So that's been one that has come to my attention over the years, and have been trying to instill that not only here in my position, but also at home with my boys, and understanding that it's not about everything doesn't come easy, and it's going to be hard, and you got to embrace the hard.
Yeah, love that. I'm going to write that down. I'm going to hang on to that. Thank you. Uh-huh. It's just really fun to watch you guys play. I have to say that it's It's great stuff. The recruits are amazing. The execution, the strategies, all of it is just really great volleyball. Yeah. Volleyball TV. So best of luck to you, Lindsay, through the rest of the season.
Thank you, Janice.
Thank you for listening. Please share your feedback with us at side-out.org.